There are forces in the universe that even gods fear to challenge, energies that ripple across dimensions, tearing holes in the fabric of reality itself. The space bridge was Cybertronian technology at its apex, a marvel that bent space and time, allowing instant travel across star systems. But when Megatron's fusion cannon struck the bridge's core during their battle above Cybertron's ruins, neither Autobot nor Decepticon could have predicted what would happen next. The explosion didn't just destroy the bridge, it fractured something fundamental. Optimus Prime felt himself pulled through a kaleidoscope of impossible colors, his sensors screaming warnings as dimensional barriers shattered around him. The matrix of leadership burned hot against his spark, attempting to shield him from forces that existed outside normal physics. Then, as suddenly as it began, the chaos ended. He was falling. The sky above was wrong. No Cybertron's metallic landscape, no familiar stars. Instead, a blue atmosphere streaked past his optics as gravity seized his 20-ton frame. Below, a massive city sprawled across the landscape, all glass towers and concrete canyons, organic architecture, an alien world. No, not entirely alien. His sensors detected electromagnetic signatures, radio waves, primitive but functional technology. And those buildings, designed for bipedal organic life forms, humanoid. Optimus tried to transform, to reduce his profile and minimize damage, but the dimensional transit had scrambled his systems. Warning indicators flashed across his HUD. Energon levels critical. Structural integrity compromised. Transformation circuits offline. He slammed into the Earth. The impact crater measured 40 feet across and 15 deep. Pavement buckled and shattered. Water mains burst, sending geysers shooting into the air. Car alarms shrieked for 3 blocks in every direction. Optimus Prime lay in the center of the devastation, his blue optics flickering as emergency systems fought to keep him online. Around him, the humans screamed and ran. Through failing sensors, Optimus registered their terror. Small, fragile beings fleeing from what they perceived as a threat. He tried to move, to speak, to reassure them that he meant no harm. His vocal processors sparked and died. His right arm refused to respond. The Matrix pulsed weakly, its light dimming. Stay online, he commanded himself. Assess, adapt, survive. This wasn't Cybertron. This wasn't any world he knew. But these people, these humans, they were afraid. And in his current state, damaged and unknown, he couldn't blame them. Above the crater, news helicopters circled like mechanical vultures, their cameras broadcasting his broken form to millions. Sirens wailed as emergency vehicles converged, and somewhere in the distance, Optimus's sensors detected something else, energy signatures that read almost like Cybertronian technology. But wrong, organic, powerful. Something was coming. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. This is just the beginning. Optimus Prime forced his optics to focus on the sky above. Whatever world this was, whatever dangers awaited, one truth remained constant. He was an Autobot. And Autobots protected life, no matter what form it took, even if that life feared him. His systems began emergency repairs as the humans gathered at the crater's edge, their primitive communication devices pointed at him like weapons. He registered their voices, confusion, fear, excitement. Some called him a monster, others called him a miracle. None of them knew the truth yet. In the ruins of a New York street, damaged and alone on an alien world, Optimus Prime prepared to face whatever came next. His war with Megatron had followed him across dimensions, but this world had wars of its own, and he'd just become part of them. The Vought International Emergency Response Team arrived 12 minutes after impact. which was exactly 9 minutes faster than NYPD and 7 minutes faster than the National Guard. They'd had practice. When you manufactured superheroes for a living, you got very good at crisis management. Madeline Stillwell stood in the mobile command center, her perfectly styled hair not moving despite the chaos outside, watching feeds from 8 different news helicopters. Behind her, technicians worked frantically at computer stations, while security personnel in tactical gear established a perimeter around the crater. "Tell me we have containment," she said, not looking away from the screens. "Perimeter established, ma'am," her head of security reported. "NYPD is cooperating. We've got the area locked down within a 4-block radius. News crews are maintaining distance, but they've already broadcast this thing to every screen in America," Madeline finished. Her mind raced through scenarios, contingencies, PR strategies. What about casualties? Remarkably light. Some injuries from the impact shockwave, property damage obviously severe, but no confirmed deaths. Small miracles. She studied the figure in the crater, if figure was even the right word. It was massive, easily 20 feet tall in its reclined position, constructed from metal that shouldn't exist according to any material science Vought's labs understood. The design was impossibly sophisticated, almost organic in how the components flowed together. "Analysis?" A tech looked up from his station. "Ma'am, this thing is giving off energy readings we've never seen. It's not any known technology, not ours, not Russian, not Chinese. The metallurgy alone is decades beyond anything on Earth. Maybe centuries. Alien." The word felt absurd leaving her mouth, but then again she worked with a man who could fly and shoot lasers from his eyes. "That would be our assessment, yes." Madeline's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. "Mr. Edgar." "Call immediately." She stepped away from the chaos, pressing the phone to her ear. "Sir." "Miss Stillwell." Stan Edgar's voice was calm, measured, completely unbothered by the fact that an alien robot had just cratered a New York street. "I'm watching the feeds. Tell me you have a plan." "Working on it, sir. We've contained the area. We're controlling the narrative. The narrative is that something from outer space just crashed into our city. We can't spin that away. But we can control what happens next." A pause. "Is it alive?" Madeline looked at the screens. The robot's eyes, optics, sensors, whatever they were, had been flickering. "We believe so. It moved briefly after impact, then went still. Could be damaged, could be dormant." "Then we have a window. I want that thing in our facility before the government decides it belongs to them. Whatever it is, whatever it can do, Vought saw it first. Vought gets to study it. Are we clear?" "Crystal, sir, but if it wakes up and decides not to cooperate, that's why God invented the 7, Miss Stillwell. Get them there. Now." The line went dead. Madeline turned to face her team. "Get me Homelander and the rest of the 7. I want them here in full costume, cameras rolling." She smiled, the expression never reaching her eyes. "We're going to give America exactly what it needs right now. It's heroes protecting them from the unknown." Outside, Optimus Prime's optics flickered brighter. His emergency repair systems had stabilized critical damage. His audio receptors picked up the humans' voices, their language processing through his translation matrix. They were afraid. They were organizing. They were preparing for confrontation. And they kept using one word: Vought. His database search came up empty. Whatever Vought was, it wasn't in his records, but the tone suggested power, authority, control. On Cybertron, that usually meant trouble. Optimus forced his systems to full awareness, despite the pain signals screaming through his neural net. He needed to understand this world, these people, their intentions. He needed Energon, desperately. His reserves were at 18% and falling. He needed to find other Autobots, if any had survived the dimensional rift. But first, he needed to convince these humans he wasn't a threat. Through his sensor array, he detected new signatures approaching, flying, fast, power levels that registered similar to what he'd sensed earlier, that strange, organic, technological hybrid energy. 7 distinct signatures, growing stronger by the second. Optimus Prime prepared himself. First contact protocols ran through his processor. His weapon systems were offline, but his words had always been his greatest tool. If he could speak with whoever led these humans, if he could explain. Then the sky tore open with sonic booms, and 7 figures descended from the clouds like gods. The one in front wore red, white, and blue. His cape billowed dramatically despite the lack of wind. His smile was perfect, practiced, completely empty. And when his eyes met Optimus's optics, the Autobot leader saw something he'd seen countless times before on Megatron's face. Cruelty, arrogance, the absolute certainty that nothing could challenge his power. "Looks like we've got ourselves an illegal alien," the flying man said, his voice carrying across the crater with practiced, theatrical flair. He spread his arms wide, addressing the cameras more than the Autobot. "Don't worry, America. Your heroes are here." Optimus Prime's threat assessment subroutines screamed warnings. This was going to get complicated. Homelander descended into the crater with the casual confidence of someone who'd never been truly challenged. Behind him, the 7 spread out in a practiced formation. Queen Maeve to his right, A-Train vibrating with barely contained speed. The Deep looking uncomfortable in the sunlight, Black Noir silent and still, Starlight hanging back with uncertainty in her eyes, and Translucent somewhere invisible in the perimeter. The cameras loved it. Homelander knew they would. "So," he said, floating 10 feet above Optimus Prime's prone form, hands on his hips in his signature power pose. "What are you supposed to be? Some kind of robot? Transformer toy come to life?" He laughed at his own joke, making sure it carried to the news crews. Optimus Prime's optics focused on the flying human. His vocal processors had finished emergency repairs. When he spoke, his voice resonated with a depth that made the concrete vibrate. "I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. I mean you no harm. I am a refugee, displaced by circumstances beyond my control." The words stopped Homelander mid-laugh. Around the crater, the gathered humans fell silent. News anchors stammered on live television. The robot had just spoken, not in mechanical beeps or alien gibberish, but in perfect, articulate English. "It talks," A-Train whispered, his usual bravado faltering. "Of course I talk," Optimus replied, attempting to push himself upright despite his damaged systems. Hydraulics hissed and sparked. "I am a sentient being, as are you. I request peaceful contact with your world's leadership. I need to understand where I am and how I might return home." Homelander's smile never wavered, but his eyes narrowed. In his earpiece, Madeline's voice whispered, "Keep it talking. Get it to comply. We need it intact for study." "Well, Optimus Prime," Homelander said, descending to hover just above the Autobot's eye level. "Welcome to Earth, specifically the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world, and I'm Homelander, greatest hero in the history of the world. You've crash-landed in my city, caused millions in property damage, and terrified a lot of good people." His smile widened. "So here's how this works. You're going to come with us. Let our people examine you, make sure you're not some kind of threat, and if you're a good little robot, maybe we'll help you find your way home." Optimus processed the words carefully. The posturing, the implicit threat, the assumption of authority, all familiar dynamics. But something felt wrong. These beings radiated power, yes, but there was something hollow about them. Something performed. "I appreciate your offer," Optimus said carefully, managing to rise to one knee. His frame towered over even the flying human, 25 feet of Cybertronian engineering. However, I would prefer to speak with your actual governmental authorities. I am a head of state on my world. Diplomatic protocols. Diplomatic protocols? Homelander laughed, the sound sharp and cold. You're not a diplomat. You're an alien that crash-landed in American territory. That makes you our problem to solve. He floated closer, eyes beginning to glow faintly red. Now, are you going to comply, or do we have to do this the hard way? In the command center, Madeline Stillwell watched with growing concern. Homelander, stand down. We need it functional. But Homelander had already muted his earpiece. Optimus Prime recognized the threat display. He'd seen it countless times, from Decepticons, from hostile alien species, from beings who believed might made right. His energon reserves were critical, his weapons were offline, his transformation circuits were damaged. But he was still an Autobot, and Autobots did not bow to intimidation. I will not be threatened, Optimus said quietly, but his voice carried absolute conviction. I have offered peace. I have explained my situation. If you choose violence, I will defend myself. Oh, this is rich, Homelander sneered. The giant robot thinks it can threaten me. Do you have any idea what I am? I'm a god. I can fly. I can shoot lasers from my eyes. I can hear your circuits whirring from a mile away. I could tear you apart before you even... Queen Maeve stepped forward, her voice sharp. Homelander, it's clearly not hostile. Let's just... Shut up, Maeve. The adults are talking. Optimus watched the dynamic between these heroes with growing understanding. The female warrior was uncomfortable. The young blonde looked horrified. The speedster seemed more interested in the cameras than the situation, and the leader, this Homelander, radiated the same toxic narcissism as Starscream at his worst. These weren't heroes. They were something else entirely. I need energon, Optimus said, changing tactics. Perhaps honesty would succeed where diplomacy failed. My power source. Without it, I will go offline permanently within hours. If your world has any form of energized plasma, concentrated energy sources, or... Do I look like a mechanic? Homelander snapped. Then his expression shifted, becoming thoughtful in a way that made Optimus's threat assessments spike. But you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we can help each other. You give us access to your technology, your weapons, whatever makes you tick. And we make sure you get your energon. Sound fair? It wasn't fair. It was extortion dressed as negotiation. Optimus had energon stores on Cybertron, energon refineries, energon caches hidden across multiple star systems. But none of it existed in this dimension. He was alone, damaged and running on fumes. And these beings, these false heroes, knew it. I will consider your offer, Optimus said carefully, after I have spoken with your planet's legitimate authorities. Homelander's eyes flared bright red. I am the authority, you overgrown toaster, and I'm done asking nicely. The heat vision lanced out, twin beams of superheated energy that would have melted through a tank like butter. They struck Optimus Prime's chest armor and dissipated, absorbed by Cybertronian metallurgy designed to withstand plasma cannons and fusion weapons. Homelander stared, his perfect smile finally faltering. Optimus Prime rose to his full height. Energon reserves be damned. I believe, the Autobot said quietly. We have a misunderstanding. The command center erupted in chaos. Technicians shouted coordinates and power readings, while Madeline Stillwell's perfectly composed mask cracked just enough to show genuine alarm. Did that thing just tank Homelander's heat vision? Someone asked. Get me material composition analysis now, Madeline snapped, her mind already calculating the implications. If this robot could withstand Homelander, that changed everything. It made the machine a threat, or an incredibly valuable asset, depending on how this played out. In the crater, Homelander stared at his own hands like they'd betrayed him, then back at the towering robot. A thin scorch mark marred Optimus Prime's chest plating, but nothing more. No melted metal, no penetration, not even significant damage. That's not possible, A-Train whispered. Nothing tanks Homelander's heat vision, the Deep added, taking an involuntary step backward. But Optimus Prime had, and he stood there radiating quiet dignity despite his damaged state, making no aggressive move even after being attacked. He simply waited, optics focused on Homelander with what might have been disappointment. "You attempted to destroy me without provocation," Optimus said, "without negotiation, without mercy. On my world, such actions define the Decepticons, beings who believe power justifies any atrocity." His voice hardened. "I am beginning to understand what kind of world I have arrived in." Homelander's shock morphed into rage. "You think you're better than me? You crash into my city, threaten my people. I have threatened no one. I offered peace, requested dialogue, and explained my situation honestly. You responded with violence." Optimus's battle computers ran scenarios, calculating odds, damaged systems, critical energon shortage, unknown enemy capabilities. He could fight, but victory was uncertain and casualties would be high. "I do not wish to fight you, but I will not be enslaved or destroyed. Choose wisely." "Choose." Homelander's laugh was manic now. "I'm Homelander. I don't lose. 7, take this thing apart." Queen Maeve didn't move. Neither did Starlight. Black Noir cocked his head, assessing. A-Train vibrated uncertainly. The Deep looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. Only Homelander seemed eager for violence. In that moment of hesitation, new players entered the game. A black van screeched to a halt outside the perimeter, and 4 figures emerged with the kind of purposeful aggression that suggested they were very used to being where they weren't supposed to be. The leader was a bearded man in a Hawaiian shirt who looked at the scene with the expression of someone who'd seen it all and hated every second of it. "Oi," Billy Butcher called out, his accent cutting through the tension. "Looks like we got here just in time for the fucking fireworks." Madeline's voice crackled through every earpiece. "Security, we have a breach. That's Billy Butcher. Wanted terrorist. Detain immediately." But Butcher and his crew were already moving, using the chaos to slip closer. Huey carried some kind of technical equipment. Mother's Milk had weapons. Frenchie looked delighted by the insanity. And Kimiko's eyes were locked on Optimus Prime with something like wonder. Butcher pulled out a megaphone from somewhere. "Attention, giant robot. Don't know what you are, where you're from, or what you can do, but I know one thing for certain. These cunts aren't your friends. Vought International manufactures heroes like Happy Meals, and they're all rotten on the inside, especially Captain America's evil twin over there." "Butcher," Homelander snarled, temporarily forgetting about Optimus. "You're a dead man." Yeah, heard that before." Butcher grinned viciously. "But here's the thing. Your new robot friend here, he seems like he might actually be what you lot pretend to be. A real hero. And that scares you shitless, doesn't it?" Optimus processed this new information rapidly. 2 factions clearly opposed. The costumed beings with Vought, corporate, controlled, performative. And these newcomers, ragged, desperate, but speaking truth about what Optimus had already begun to suspect. "I don't know who you are," Optimus said to Butcher, "but your assessment aligns with my own observations." "Course it does. You got working eyes, don't you?" Butcher turned to Homelander. "Tell him, Captain. Tell him what Compound V is. Tell him how none of you are real heroes. You're just science experiments in tights." Homelander's eyes blazed red again. "Shut your mouth, Butcher, or I'll—" "You'll what? Murder me on camera?" Butcher spread his arms wide, addressing the news helicopter still broadcasting. "Go on then. Show America what you really are." The standoff crystallized into 3 points. Optimus Prime, towering and damaged, but unbowed. Homelander and the Seven, supposedly Earth's greatest heroes, exposed and defensive. And the boys, rogue elements, speaking uncomfortable truths. Madeline Stillwell made a decision. All units, full containment protocol. Media blackout now. Security, clear the area. Homelander, get that robot secured, whatever it takes. But Optimus Prime had made his own decision. These heroes were false idols. The corporation that created them was corrupt, and these rebels, crude though they might be, spoke with the voice of truth against propaganda. "I will not go with Vought," Optimus declared, his voice carrying across the entire area. "I will not submit to examination or study. I am not a weapon to be controlled." "Then you're a threat to be eliminated," Homelander hissed, rising higher into the air. "Seven, light it up." What happened next would be replayed on news channels for weeks, analyzed frame by frame, debated endlessly. Homelander attacked with everything he had: heat vision, sonic booms, raw strength. A-Train became a blur of motion. Queen Maeve finally joined the fight reluctantly. Black Noir moved like a shadow, and Optimus Prime, running on fumes and emergency power, fought back. His combat protocols activated despite the Energon crisis. He couldn't transform, couldn't use his weapons, but he had 4 million years of combat experience and Cybertronian engineering that made him stronger than anything Earth had ever produced naturally. He caught A-Train mid-charge, the speedster's momentum turning against him as Optimus redirected the force into the ground. He blocked Homelander's heat vision with his forearm, the metal heating but holding. He deflected Queen Maeve's strikes with minimal movement, recognizing she was pulling her punches. And through it all, he didn't kill, didn't maim, didn't even seriously injure, because he was an Autobot. The fight lasted 43 seconds before Optimus's Energon reserves hit critical and his systems began emergency shutdown. He dropped to one knee, optics dimming. Homelander landed in front of him, breathing hard, ego bruised but victorious. "Not so tough now, are you?" Optimus looked up at him with dying light. "You are no hero. None of you are. You are pretenders. And when I am repaired, when I understand this world, I will show them what true heroism looks like." Then his optics went dark, and Optimus Prime collapsed. In the command center, Madeline Stillwell smiled. "Get it to the facility. Now, before the government decides they want it." And in the chaos of containment, Billy Butcher watched the Vought trucks roll away with their prize and made his own plans. The game had changed. And for the first time in years, Butcher thought they might actually have a chance. Optimus Prime's consciousness flickered in the darkness like a dying star. His systems registered containment, magnetic restraints, reinforced walls, scanning equipment probing his frame. But deeper than the physical diagnostics, something else troubled him. The matrix of leadership pulsed weakly against his spark, showing him fragmented visions of this world. He saw a laboratory where infants screamed as foreign compounds invaded their bloodstream. He saw a man in a cape melting through a commercial airliner, then lying about it on television. He saw heroes posing for photographs while civilians died in the background. He saw a corporation that packaged heroism like a product and sold it to the masses. He saw a world that had forgotten what heroes truly were. The visions faded as emergency power finally kicked in, bringing his consciousness to minimal functionality. Optimus forced his optics online, dimmed to 20% capacity. He was in a massive laboratory facility, suspended by electromagnetic fields that prevented movement but didn't actually damage him. Smart. Whoever designed this understood the difference between containment and torture. Around him, technicians in white coats worked at computer stations, analyzing data streams from thousands of sensors embedded in his restraints. They spoke in hushed, excited tones about his molecular structure, his energy signature, the impossible sophistication of his design. The material composition alone is decades beyond anything we have, one scientist said, practically trembling with excitement. If we could replicate even a fraction of this alloy, we'd revolutionize warfare, another finished. Armor that can withstand Homelander's heat vision. The military would pay billions. Optimus felt something cold settle in his spark. Of course, on Cybertron, the Decepticons had viewed everything as a weapon to be exploited. Apparently, humans weren't so different. A door hissed open, and Madeline Stillwell entered with the confidence of someone who owned everything in the room, including him. She wore an immaculate business suit and a smile that never reached her eyes. Behind her, 2 guards with advanced weapons flanked the entrance. "Mr. Prime," she said warmly, as if greeting a business partner rather than a prisoner. "I'm Madeline Stillwell, Senior Vice President of Hero Management at Vote International. I apologize for the aggressive introduction earlier. Homelander can be enthusiastic, but we're all on the same side here." Optimus said nothing, his optics tracking her movement. Madeline continued unfazed. "You said you need Energon. We've analyzed your power signature, and we believe we can synthesize something compatible. In exchange, we'd like to understand your technology. A fair trade. We help you, you help us." "Help you do what?" Optimus's voice was quiet but resonant. "Create weapons, build armies. I have seen your heroes, Ms. Stillwell. I have seen what your corporation truly is." Her smile tightened fractionally. "You've had limited exposure to a complex situation. Vought International saves lives, Mr. Prime. Our heroes stop crimes, prevent disasters, inspire hope." "Your heroes are products," Optimus interrupted. "Manufactured beings given power without wisdom, strength without responsibility. I watched your Homelander attack me unprovoked, attempting murder for the simple crime of existing. I heard him threaten that woman, Maeve, when she questioned his actions. I saw the fear in the eyes of your other heroes when he gave orders." His optics brightened slightly. "That is not heroism. That is tyranny wearing a cape." Madeline's pleasant mask slipped entirely. "You don't understand this world. You've been here for 3 hours. You know nothing about the complexities. I understand enough." Optimus's restraints hummed as he tested them, measuring their strength. Still too weak to break free, but his systems were slowly regenerating basic power. "I have fought a war that lasted 4 million years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched good beings corrupted by power and evil beings redeemed by sacrifice. Your world is not complex, Ms. Stillwell. It is simply broken." For a moment, something like genuine emotion crossed her face. Anger, frustration, perhaps even recognition of truth. Then it vanished behind corporate professionalism. "You're damaged, low on power, and stuck in my facility," she said coldly. "You can either work with us and get what you need, or you can rot in this cage while we reverse engineer your technology anyway. Your choice." "There is always a choice," Optimus replied. "Even in the darkest circumstances, even when it costs everything. That is what separates Autobots from Decepticons, what separates true heroes from pretenders." Madeline stared at him for a long moment, then turned on her heel. "Keep him contained. Full security protocol, and someone find out if we can actually synthesize his fuel source. If we can't..." She paused at the doorway. then he's more valuable as scrap metal. The door sealed behind her with mechanical finality. Optimus Prime closed his optics and reached deep within himself to the matrix of leadership. The ancient artifact had survived the dimensional crossing, though weakened. It held the wisdom of the Primes who came before him, the collective knowledge of Cybertronian civilization. Surely it could help him now. Show me, he thought, show me how to survive in this world. The matrix pulsed and another vision came. Not of Vort's corruption, but of something else. A ragged group of humans hiding in a basement. The bearded man from before, Butcher, arguing with his companions. A technical expert examining footage of Optimus's fight. And a young woman with kind eyes saying something that made the others pause. He didn't kill them. He could have, but he didn't. Even when they attacked him, even when he was dying, he held back. Butcher's response. Yeah, well, maybe that makes him the biggest threat to Vought of all, a real hero in a world of fake ones. The vision faded. Optimus understood. He wasn't alone in this world. There were others who saw through Vought's lies, who fought against their corruption, others who might believe in true heroism. He just had to survive long enough to find them. His systems registered a new presence outside the laboratory. Multiple energy signatures approaching. Powerful ones. The 7 were returning. And judging by the electromagnetic fluctuations, they weren't coming to talk. Optimus Prime prepared himself. He'd faced worse odds before. He'd survived Megatron's worst atrocities, the fall of Cybertron, the death of countless Autobots. He would survive this too, because he was Optimus Prime, and Autobots never gave up. Even when the darkness seemed absolute, freedom was always worth fighting for. The Energon crisis hit harder than any Decepticon weapon ever had. Optimus's internal diagnostics painted a grim picture. Power reserves at 7% and falling. His self-repair systems had shut down to conserve energy. Non-essential functions were offline. Even his optics kept dimming to save precious resources. He had perhaps 6 hours before complete shutdown. After that, without Energon to restart his spark, he would effectively be dead. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd survived battles with Megatron, Unicron, the Quintessons. He'd led the Autobots through the darkest days of the Great War. But here, on this strange Earth, in this twisted dimension, he would die not from combat, but from something as simple as starvation. Through his deteriorating sensors, Optimus monitored the facility around him. The scientists had given up trying to synthesize Energon. Their energy matrices were fundamentally incompatible with Cybertronian physiology. One technician had suggested nuclear fission as a power source. The resulting explosion during testing had sent 3 people to the medical wing. It's too alien, he'd heard one scientist say. His entire energy system operates on principles we don't understand. It's like trying to fuel a car with thoughts and dreams. Not entirely inaccurate, Optimus mused. Energon was more than fuel. It was the literal lifeblood of Cybertronian civilization, refined from the raw energy of their world. Without access to Cybertron or Energon refineries, he was a starving being on an alien world. The laboratory doors opened again. This time it wasn't Madeline Stillwell. Homelander strode in with his characteristic swagger, cape billowing despite the lack of wind. His smile was sharp and cruel. Behind him, Queen Maeve followed reluctantly, and Black Noir shadowed them both in silence. "How's our guest doing?" Homelander asked the lead scientist with fake cheerfulness. "Still ticking?" "Barely, sir. His power levels are critical, without a compatible energy source." Yeah, he's dying. I got it." Homelander floated closer to Optimus's suspended form, studying him like an interesting insect. "You know what's funny, robot? You came here acting all high and mighty, talking about real heroes and moral codes. But look at you now, helpless, dying. completely at our mercy. Optimus's optics flickered. Even speech was becoming costly. Is there a point to this cruelty? Cruelty, Homelander laughed. This isn't cruelty, this is reality. You're not special. You're not better than us. You're just another thing that can break. He leaned in closer. And I'm going to enjoy watching you fade out, knowing that Earth's greatest hero couldn't even survive a week here. Homelander, Maeve said quietly. He's already dying. This is what he deserves, Homelander snapped. He embarrassed me, made me look weak in front of the cameras. No one does that. Optimus processed this through his failing systems. This false hero, was so consumed by ego that he would rather watch someone die than show mercy. It confirmed everything the Autobot had suspected about him. You are not a god, Optimus said, each word requiring effort. You are a broken child, given power you never earned, and deep down, you know it. Homelander's eyes flared red. Say that again, I dare you. Homelander, don't. Maeve grabbed his arm. Stillwell wants him intact for study. If I kill him, we can still study the corpse. But Homelander pulled back, his rage barely contained. Fine, let him rot. I'll be there when he finally powers down, and I'll be the last thing he sees. A god watching a false idol die. They left, Homelander's laughter echoing through the facility. Optimus let his optics dim to 5%. 6 hours had become 4. His spark pulsed weakly, the matrix of leadership trying desperately to sustain him, but failing. He thought of Cybertron, of the Autobots he'd left behind, of the war he might never finish. He thought of Bumblebee, Ratchet, Jazz, his brothers, his friends. He thought of the humans on this world who needed a real hero but were given Homelander instead. And he thought of failure. Then, in the darkness of his dying consciousness, Optimus heard something. A new sound, explosions, alarms, gunfire. The facility lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Screams echoed through corridors. His electromagnetic restraints wavered as power systems were disrupted. Through barely functional sensors, Optimus detected multiple small human signatures moving through the facility with military precision, and one voice cutting through the chaos with fierce determination. Oi, where's the giant robot? We're here for the fucking giant robot. Butcher. The laboratory doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the room as the boys poured through, weapons ready. Huey carried some kind of electromagnetic disruptor. Mother's Milk had plastic explosives. Frenchie wielded a flamethrower with disturbing enthusiasm. And Kimiko moved like a whirlwind, taking down security guards with brutal efficiency. Butcher surveyed the scene, saw Optimus suspended and dying, and grinned viciously. There you are, you beautiful metal bastard. Huey, get those restraints down. Working on it. Huey plugged his device into the facility's backup systems. This is insane, Butcher. We're breaking into Vought to rescue an alien robot. Correction. We're breaking into Vought to steal Homelander's new toy before he can weaponize it. Bonus, we might get ourselves a real hero for once. Butcher looked up at Optimus. You still alive in there, Prime? Optimus forced his optics to brighten slightly. Barely. Good enough. We're getting you out. Why? The question took precious energy. Why help someone you don't know? Butcher's expression hardened. Because you did something in that crater that Homelander's never done in his entire life. You held back. You had the power to kill, and you chose not to. That makes you more of a hero than anyone in this building. He pulled out a detonator. Now, we can philosophize later. Right now, we've got about 90 seconds before the Seven show up and make this a massacre, so unless you want to die as Vought property, I suggest you help us help you." The electromagnetic restraints sparked and died. Optimus fell, his systems too weak to catch himself. He crashed to the laboratory floor, servos groaning. "Mother's milk, get the truck," Butcher ordered. "Frenchie, plant the charges. Kimiko, watch our six." "Huey, I know, try not to die." Alarms shrieked louder. Through the facility's intercoms, Madeline Stillwell's voice crackled. "All units, converge on Lab 7. The boys are here. Stop them at all costs." Optimus tried to move, to transform, to do something useful. His systems refused to respond. "I cannot fight. I am useless to you." "Shut it," Butcher said, examining Optimus's frame. "You're 20 tons of alien metal. We just need to move you, not make you dance." "Frenchie." Frenchie appeared with industrial lift equipment scavenged from the facility. "This should work, yes? We attach here. Drag him to the loading dock." The wall exploded. Homelander stood in the smoking hole, eyes blazing red, smile completely gone. "You've got some balls, Butcher, breaking into my house, stealing my prize." Behind him, the rest of the Seven filed in. This time, they looked ready for war. Butcher raised his detonator. "One more step, and I blow this entire facility. You, us, your precious robot, all of it goes up." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Butcher's grin was feral. "You really want to test that theory?" The standoff crystallized. Two sides, weapons ready with a dying Autobot caught in the middle. And Optimus Prime, with the last of his energy, made a choice. The matrix of leadership pulsed one final time, and Optimus Prime felt something shift within his spark. The ancient artifact, desperate to preserve its bearer, began converting its own energy, the accumulated wisdom and life force of every Prime who'd come before, into raw power. It was a temporary measure, a last resort, and it would burn through the Matrix's reserves in minutes. But minutes were all he needed. Optimus's optics blazed bright blue. His systems surged back online with a roar of hydraulics and spinning servos. The lift equipment Frenchie had brought shattered as the Autobot rose to his full height, towering over everyone in the laboratory. "I am Optimus Prime," he said, his voice resonating with renewed strength. "And I have made my choice." Homelander's shock lasted exactly 1 second. Then rage took over. "You should be dead." "I have died before," Optimus replied. "It never takes." He turned to Butcher and his crew. "You offered assistance. You showed compassion to a stranger. That makes you allies. Get behind me." "Behind you?" Huey squeaked. "But you said you couldn't fight." "I lied." Optimus's battle protocols activated fully. His transformation circuits were still damaged, his weapons offline, but his combat processors worked fine. "I needed to understand who would show mercy to the helpless, who would risk everything for a dying stranger." His optics focused on Homelander. "It certainly wasn't you." "Touching," Homelander snarled. "But you're still outnumbered. 7 against 1. 6, Queen Maeve interrupted, stepping away from the Seven's formation. "I'm not doing this. I'm not killing someone who's only trying to survive." "Maeve?" "No, Homelander, I'm done. I've watched you brutalize enough innocents." She looked at Optimus. "He's right about us. We're not real heroes, but maybe it's not too late to start." Starlight moved to join her. "Me too. This is wrong." Homelander's perfect face twisted with fury. "Traitors! Both of you!" He turned to the others. "A train, Black Noir, deep. Take them down. All of them." What followed wasn't a battle. It was a revelation. Optimus Prime, empowered by the Matrix but still damaged, fought with a precision and restraint that left everyone watching in awe. A-Train charged at super speed, and Optimus caught him mid-run, using the speedster's own momentum to redirect him into a reinforced wall. The Deep tried to use his limited hydrokinesis from a nearby water main, and Optimus simply stepped through the spray, servos hissing but undamaged. Black Noir was more dangerous. Trained, skilled, ruthless, he attacked with blades and tactical precision, targeting Optimus's damaged joints and sensor arrays. But the Autobot had fought assassins before, and Black Noir's silence didn't make him unpredictable. Optimus blocked, deflected, and finally caught the silent Soupe in an arm lock that immobilized him without causing permanent damage. Through it all, Optimus didn't kill, didn't maim, didn't even seriously injure, because he was an Autobot. "Impossible!" Homelander screamed, firing his heat vision full force. The twin beams struck Optimus's chest, and this time the Autobot actually felt them. The Matrix-powered boost made his systems more responsive, but he was still damaged. The heat seared through outer plating, warning lights flashing. Optimus charged through the beams, closing the distance between them. Homelander flew backward, but not fast enough. The Autobot's hand closed around the Soupe's ankle and slammed him into the floor with enough force to crater the reinforced concrete. "You are strong," Optimus said, lifting Homelander by his cape. "Perhaps the strongest being on this world, but strength without wisdom is just destruction waiting to happen." He pulled Homelander closer, optic to eye. "You could have been a true hero. Instead, you chose to be a god, and gods who forget their compassion become monsters." Homelander struggled, heat vision firing wildly, super strength straining against Cybertronian grip. "I'll kill you! I'll tear you apart! Optimus threw him. Not hard enough to kill, he'd calculated the trajectory precisely, but hard enough to send Homelander crashing through 3 walls and into the facility's parking structure. The laboratory fell silent except for alarms and distant screams. The boys stared at Optimus Prime with expressions ranging from awe to terror. Queen Maeve and Starlight looked equally stunned. The defeated members of the Seven groaned from various impact sites. "Holy shit," Butcher whispered. "You actually did it. You beat Homelander." "No," Optimus corrected, his power already fading as the Matrix burned through its reserves. "I delayed him. There is a difference. We must leave now before he recovers, and anger overrides his fear." "Fear?" Huey looked at the Homelander-shaped holes in the walls. "You think you scared him?" "I know I did," Optimus replied. Perhaps for the first time in his life he encountered something that could match his strength. That uncertainty will fester into fear, and fear makes beings like him dangerous. His systems began warning of critical power loss again. "The Matrix cannot sustain me much longer. If you truly wish to help, I need shelter, time to repair, and information about this world." Mother's Milk pulled up with a reinforced truck, stolen from Vogt's own motor pool. "We got a safe house. It ain't pretty, but it's off their grid. Can you fit?" Optimus examined the vehicle and made a decision. His transformation circuits were damaged but not completely offline. If he attempted a partial transformation, just compacting his frame. Servos screamed in protest. Damaged components sparked. But slowly, painfully, Optimus shifted his mass, folding and compacting until he'd reduced his height by half. Still too large for the truck bed, but manageable. "Drive," he said through gritted dental plates. Quickly. They drove. Behind them, Homelander pulled himself from the wreckage, covered in dust and concrete debris, his perfect costume torn. For the first time in his life, he'd been hurt. Actually, genuinely hurt. And he'd been afraid. Madeline Stillwell appeared beside him, her expression carefully neutral. "Sir, shall we pursue?" Homelander said nothing for a long moment, staring at his own trembling hands. Then, slowly, his smile returned, but it was different now, colder, more calculated. "No," he said quietly. "Let them run. Let them think they've won." His eyes began to glow red again. "But find that robot. Find out what makes it tick. And find me a way to kill it." Because Homelander had learned something important. He could be challenged. He could be hurt. His supremacy wasn't absolute, and nothing terrified him more than not being the strongest being in the room. "Also," he added, turning to face Stillwell with manic intensity, "find me those traitors. Maeve and Starlight think they can walk away. Nobody walks away from the Seven. Nobody walks away from me." Stillwell watched him carefully, recognizing the signs. Homelander wasn't just angry, he was obsessed. And obsessed Homelander was dangerous to everyone, including Vought. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today they had an alien robot to hunt, and an entire PR disaster to manage. Miles away, in a safe house basement that smelled of mold and desperation, Optimus Prime finally let himself power down. The boys watched as his optics dimmed to emergency levels, his frame settling into standby mode. "Is he dead?" Huey asked nervously. "Resting," Maeve corrected. She'd followed them, unable to return to Vought after her betrayal. "At least, I think so. Hard to tell with robots." Butcher lit a cigarette, studying their new acquisition. Well, we went looking for a weapon against Homelander. Instead, we got ourselves a proper hero." He grinned. "This is either the best decision we've ever made, or the one that finally gets us all killed." "Could be both," Mother's Milk muttered. Frenchie was already examining Optimus's frame with technical fascination. "Mon Dieu, the engineering. If we could understand even a fraction of this technology." "First things first," Butcher interrupted. "We need to figure out how to keep our new friend alive. He said he needs energon, right? What the hell is energon?" "Fuel," a weak voice answered. Optimus's optics flickered. "Refined energy, from my homeworld, without access to Cybertron. I am living on borrowed time." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They'd rescued an alien hero from Vought. They'd made enemies of the most powerful corporation on Earth. They'd turned Homelander into a focused, vengeful enemy instead of just a general threat. And their new ally was slowly dying, one day at a time. "Fuck," Butcher said eloquently. "We," Frenchie agreed. "Fuck indeed." The safe house was barely large enough for Optimus Prime, even in his compacted form. His frame occupied most of the basement, servos occasionally hissing as emergency repairs continued their work. Around him, the boys and their unlikely new allies, Queen Maeve and Starlight, had turned the dingy space into something resembling a command center. Huey had set up computer equipment, monitoring news feeds and Vought communications. Mother's Milk was cataloging their weapons and supplies. Frenchie examined every inch of Optimus's frame that he could reach, muttering in French about impossible metallurgy. Kimiko simply sat nearby, watching the Autobot with quiet fascination. And Butcher stood at the top of the basement stairs, cigarette burning between his fingers, trying to figure out how they'd gone from hunting soups to harboring an alien robot revolutionary. "Okay," he said finally, descending the stairs. "Let's have it. Full story. Where are you from? What are you? And why the hell should we trust you?" Optimus's optics brightened slightly. Even this small conversation cost him energy, but they deserved answers. "I am from Cybertron, a world of sentient mechanical beings. For 4 million years, my people fought a civil war, Autobots versus Decepticons. The Autobots believe in freedom, autonomy, and the protection of all sentient life. The Decepticons believe in domination, subjugation, and the supremacy of the strong. Sounds familiar, Maeve muttered, glancing at Starlight. The war consumed our world. Eventually, it spread across the galaxy. Optimus's voice carried ancient weariness. I became leader of the Autobots after the previous Prime fell in battle. The matrix of leadership. He indicated his chest, where a faint blue glow pulsed weakly. Chose me. It is a repository of Cybertronian wisdom, passed down through generations of leaders. And you ended up here because, Huey prompted, a battle, a dimensional rift, accident or sabotage, I cannot say. I was pulled through space and time, landing in your world. His optics dimmed. Without Energon, without my fellow Autobots, without any way home. That's rough, mate, Butcher said, surprisingly genuine. But here's what I need to know. Can you help us? Help you do what? Kill Homelander. The basement fell silent. Even Frenchie stopped his technical examination. Starlight stepped forward. Butcher, you can't ask him to. Why not? You saw what he did. He's the first thing on this planet that can actually match that psychopath. He could end this. End Homelander. End Vogt's stranglehold on the country. End all of it. Butcher moved closer to Optimus. One fight, that's all I'm asking. You versus him, no holding back this time. And we finally rid the world of that cape-wearing cancer. Optimus processed the request carefully. He'd seen Homelander's cruelty firsthand, witnessed the fear he inspired in those who should have been his allies. The being was dangerous, unstable, and completely lacking in the moral framework necessary to responsibly wield such power. But he'd also seen Homelander's humanity, twisted and buried though it was. The desperation in his eyes when his heat vision failed. The fear when he realized something could hurt him. Underneath the narcissism and rage, Homelander was still a living being. No, Optimus said finally. No. Butcher's expression darkened. Did you not hear me? That thing has murdered hundreds. I heard you. And my answer remains no. I will not kill him. Why the hell not? Because killing is what Decepticons do. Optimus's voice was firm despite his weakened state. Because taking a life, even one as twisted as Homelander's, diminishes the one who does it. Because I am an Autobot, and Autobots protect life, all life, even when it's difficult, even when it seems unjust. Butcher stared at him, anger warring with disbelief. You're serious? You'd rather die than kill that monster. I would rather find another way. Always. Optimus met Butcher's gaze steadily. But I understand your rage. I have felt it myself, fighting Megatron. Watching him destroy everything I loved, twist everything I believed in. There were moments when I could have killed him, when every combat protocol screamed that it would be logical, tactical, necessary. So why didn't you? Because the moment I became willing to kill without absolute necessity, I would become him. The war would cease being about principles and become about survival. And survival without principles is just existence. It's not life. Butcher threw his cigarette to the ground and crushed it under his heel. Beautiful speech, really moving. But here's reality. Homelander won't stop. He'll hunt you. He'll hunt us. He'll murder everyone we know and enjoy doing it, because that's what he does. Your moral high ground means shit when you're dead. Perhaps, but I would rather die maintaining my principles than live having abandoned them. Optimus paused. However, I did not say I wouldn't fight him. I said I wouldn't kill him. What's the difference? Containment, exposure. There must be ways to neutralize Homelander's threat without ending his life. Ways to reveal his true nature to the world that worships him. Ways to remove his power, if not his life. Maeve laughed bitterly. There aren't. Vought controls the media, the government, everything. We've tried exposing the truth before. It doesn't work. People don't want to know their heroes are monsters. Then we give them a real hero to compare against, Starlight suggested quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Think about it. Optimus shows up, actually saves people without killing them, actually demonstrates what heroism looks like, and becomes a target for every Supe and Vought operative on the planet, Mother's Milk finished. Hell, the government probably wants him too. CIA, FBI, military, they all want their hands on alien tech. Which brings us back to the main problem, Huey said, gesturing at the monitors. He's dying. Even if we wanted to use him as a symbol or weapon or whatever, he's running out of power. We need energon, which doesn't exist on Earth. We're stuck. Frenchie cleared his throat. Perhaps not entirely stuck. Everyone looked at him. The French scientist pulled out a tablet displaying complex energy readouts. I have been analyzing our metal friend's power signature. This energon is unlike anything on Earth, but the principle is simple. It is refined energy in a stable matrix. We cannot create energon, but perhaps we can create something close enough to sustain him. How? Optimus asked, hope flickering in his optics. Your matrix of leadership. It converted its own essence into power to help you fight, yes? It transformed one energy type into another. If we could replicate that conversion process, if we could find energy sources pure enough, concentrated enough. Frenchie's eyes gleamed with scientific fervor. We might synthesize a temporary substitute, not energon, but something functionally similar. That would require advanced technology, extensive resources, and time we don't have, Optimus said. But Vought has all those things, Maeve realized. Their labs, their equipment, which we just escaped from, Butcher pointed out. No, Huey said slowly, pulling up files on his computer. Not the main facility, but Vought has research locations all over the country. Smaller sites, less security, but with similar equipment. He highlighted one on a map. This one outside Pittsburgh. It's where they develop new Compound V variants. If we could get in there. You're suggesting we raid another Vought facility? Mother's Milk shook his head. Butcher, tell them this is insane. Butcher was quiet for a long moment, studying Optimus Prime. The alien robot who'd beaten Homelander, rescued them, and was now dying because he'd chosen the wrong universe to crash into. The being who refused to kill even when it would solve all their problems. The genuine hero in a world of fakes. Fuck it, Butcher said finally. We're already wanted terrorists. Might as well add another Vought facility to the list. Frenchie, can you do it? Can you actually make this fuel substitute work? I can try, Frenchie said. No guarantees, but I can try. Optimus watched them plan his rescue with something like wonder. These humans, criminals, vigilantes, outcasts, were risking everything for him. A stranger, an alien, someone who'd brought nothing but trouble into their lives. Why? He asked quietly. Why help me at such risk to yourselves? Butcher looked at him, and for just a moment, his perpetual anger softened into something else, something human. Because Homelander killed my wife, he said simply. Because Vought has destroyed countless lives and called it entertainment. Because this whole fucking system is rotten, and we've been fighting it with nothing but rage and improvised weapons for years. He gestured at Optimus. Then you show up. A real hero, like something out of a story. And I think, maybe with you we actually have a chance. Not just to hurt Vought. To beat them. I cannot promise victory, Optimus warned. Don't need promises. Just need you alive long enough to try. The planning continued into the night. Huey mapped security protocols. Mother's Milk inventoried weapons. Frenchie listed equipment needs. Maeve and Starlight provided insider knowledge of Vaught's procedures. And Optimus Prime, dying but not yet dead, began to understand this strange world he'd fallen into. A world where heroes were products and corporations were gods. A world where genuine compassion had become so rare that his simple refusal to kill marked him as exceptional. A world that desperately needed Autobots, even if it didn't know it yet. Outside in Vault Tower, Homelander stood at his penthouse window, staring at the city that worshipped him. His reflection in the glass showed someone almost like his usual self. Perfect hair, perfect costume, perfect smile. But his hands still trembled slightly. Madeline Stillwell entered without knocking. "We've located them. The boys have the robot in a safe house in Queens. We have the address, we have surveillance, and we have a tactical team ready to deploy." "No," Homelander said. "Sir, no teams, no tactical response, just me." He turned to face her, and his smile was all teeth. "That thing embarrassed me, made me look weak. I'm going to correct that impression personally, and this time, I'm not holding back." Stillwell hesitated. "Sir, the robot withstood your heat vision. It matched your strength. Perhaps a more strategic approach." I said no. His eyes flared red. "I'm going to rip that metal bastard apart piece by piece. And I'm going to make Butcher watch. Then I'm going to do the same to him and Maeve and Starlight and anyone else who thinks they can defy me." He was already flying before she could respond, cape streaming behind him as he shot toward Queens like a missile with a grudge. The war between real heroes and false gods was about to escalate, and somewhere between them, caught in the crossfire, was a world that didn't know which side to cheer for. The warning came from Huey's monitoring equipment, a single energy signature moving at supersonic speed, heading directly toward them. "He's coming," Huey said, his voice tight with fear. "Homelander, ETA 2 minutes." The safe house erupted into controlled chaos. Mother's Milk grabbed weapons. Frenchie began frantically packing his research. Kimiko positioned herself between the entrance and Optimus. Maeve and Starlight exchanged grim looks. They knew better than anyone what an enraged Homelander was capable of. "We need to move Prime," Butcher said, already calculating escape routes. "Get him to the truck." "No," Optimus's voice cut through the panic. His optics burned brighter as he diverted every remaining ounce of power to critical systems. "I cannot run. Not anymore. And even if I could, he would simply follow. Innocents would die in the pursuit." He began the painful process of standing, servos screaming in protest. "This ends here." "You can barely stand," Starlight protested. "He'll tear you apart." "Perhaps, but I will face him regardless. It is what Autobots do." Optimus finally reached his full height, his frame filling the basement. Through the ceiling, he could hear the sonic boom of Homelander's approach. "The rest of you must leave, now. This fight is mine." "Fuck that," Butcher said flatly. "We started this together. We finish it together." "Billy's right," Maeve added, moving to stand beside Optimus. "I've run from Homelander for years. I'm done running." "Me too," Starlight said, electricity crackling around her hands. Optimus looked at them, these humans who barely knew him, who had every reason to flee, choosing instead to stand and fight against impossible odds. It reminded him of the Autobots, of Bumblebee's loyalty, of Jazz's courage, of Ironhide's determination. Perhaps this world wasn't so different from Cybertron after all. "Then we fight," Optimus said. "But remember, our goal is not to kill. Our goal is to survive and to show this world what he truly is." The roof exploded inward. Homelander descended through the debris like an avenging angel, cape billowing, eyes blazing red, smile stretched into something manic and terrible. "Found you," he said, his voice sing-song cheerful. "Did you really think you could hide from me? I can hear your heartbeat from miles away. I can see through walls. I am a god, and you are nothing." He fired his heat vision immediately. No warning, no mercy. The twin beams lanced toward Optimus's chest. The same attack that had failed before. But Optimus was weaker now, his systems running on emergency power, the matrix nearly depleted. The heat vision burned through his outer plating, melting through armor, exposing internal mechanisms. Optimus staggered, pain signals flooding his processors. "See?" Homelander laughed. "Not so tough now, are you? Last time you had some kind of power boost. This time you're just a dying machine." Starlight blasted him with lightning, the electrical discharge catching Homelander by surprise. He spun toward her with predatory focus. "Annie, sweet, naive Annie, I should have killed you months ago." He moved faster than human eyes could track, closing the distance and grabbing her by the throat. Starlight clawed at his hands, electricity surging, but Homelander's grip was unbreakable. "Let her go," Maeve tackled him from behind, using enhanced strength to try and break his hold. Homelander released Starlight, only to backhand Maeve hard enough to send her crashing through 2 walls. Mother's Milk opened fire with military-grade weapons. The bullets bounced off Homelander harmlessly. A-Train would have been a blur. Homelander was a nightmare. He grabbed Mother's Milk and threw him aside like a rag doll. Frenchie tried his flamethrower. Homelander walked through the fire, laughing. Kimiko attacked with savage fury, targeting pressure points and vulnerable areas. Homelander caught her mid-strike and slammed her into the concrete floor hard enough to crater it. "Is this the best you've got?" Homelander spread his arms wide, addressing them all. "This is your big resistance? The boys and their pet robot?" He turned back to Optimus. "You should have stayed dead, Tin Man, because now I'm going to..." Optimus Prime moved. Despite the pain, despite the critical power levels, despite every system warning of imminent shutdown, the Autobot leader lunged forward with all his remaining strength. His fist connected with Homelander's jaw with the force of a Cybertronian pile driver. Homelander flew backward, smashing through the basement wall and into the street beyond. Optimus followed, each step an act of will over failing systems. "You want me?" he called out, his voice carrying across the neighborhood. "Then face me. Leave them alone. This is between us." Homelander picked himself up, touching his jaw where Optimus had struck him. His fingers came away with a single drop of blood. The Soupy stared at it in disbelief, then looked up at Optimus with pure hatred. "You made me bleed," he whispered. Then louder, "You made me bleed." What followed was less a fight than a brutal demonstration of what happened when unstoppable force met immovable object. Homelander attacked with everything. Heat vision, super strength, sonic screams, pure rage. Optimus defended with Cybertronian combat protocols refined over millions of years. They crashed through buildings, they tore up streets, they traded blows that registered on seismic monitors. And through it all, Huey's cameras captured everything, broadcasting the footage live to every screen he could hack into. The world watched as their greatest hero revealed his true nature, savage, brutal, merciless. They watched him try to kill over and over, while the alien robot only defended. They watched Homelander lose his mind on live television. "Die!" Homelander screamed, driving Optimus through a storefront. "Why won't you just die?" "Because," Optimus said, catching Homelander's next punch and holding it steady, "I have something you lack. Purpose beyond myself, belief beyond power, hope beyond victory." He headbutted Homelander, the impact sending shockwaves through the air. The Soupy staggered back, his perfect face bruised and bloodied, his costume torn, his cape shredded. For the first time in his life, Homelander looked vulnerable, human, defeatable, and the world was watching. "This isn't over," Homelander snarled, floating backward. Around them, news helicopters circled. Police had cordoned off the area. The military was mobilizing. Vaught's damage control was in meltdown. No, Optimus agreed. His systems finally giving out. His optics dimmed. His frame began to collapse. It is just beginning. He fell, his massive form crashing to the street, and this time he didn't get up. Homelander could have killed him then, should have by every tactical assessment. But with cameras broadcasting worldwide, with the public seeing him for what he truly was, with his invincibility shattered and his image in ruins, he fled. The world's greatest hero turned and flew away, leaving destruction and doubt in his wake. The boys rushed to Optimus's side. His optics flickered weakly. "Did we win?" he asked. Butcher looked at the cameras, the crowds, the phones recording everything. He looked at social media exploding with hashtags about the real hero and the false god. "Yeah, mate," he said, surprising himself with genuine emotion. "I think maybe we did." The world changed in 72 hours. Footage of Homelander's brutal assault, his savage attempts to murder Optimus Prime, his abandonment of civilians during the fight, it all went viral. No amount of Vought spin could erase millions of phones recording the truth. No PR campaign could explain away the blood on America's hero. The hashtags told the story. Real hero, Terran hero or monster. Optimus Prime. Homelander. Truth. Vaught's stock plummeted. Emergency board meetings ran around the clock. Stan Edgar personally oversaw damage control while Madeline Stillwell fielded thousands of media inquiries. And Homelander locked himself in his penthouse, watching the footage loop endlessly, his perfect world crumbling. In a secured military facility outside Washington, D.C., Optimus Prime lay dormant on a reinforced platform. The government had moved fast after his collapse, taking custody before Vought could reclaim him. Politicians debated, scientists examined, military brass salivated over alien technology. But they'd also brought Frenchie. The French scientist worked under military supervision, racing against Optimus's failing power core. He'd synthesized a crude energon substitute using concentrated plasma, refined nuclear isotopes, and principles he barely understood, but Optimus's own systems had helped explain during their brief time together. It wasn't energon. It would never be energon. But it might be enough. Moment of truth, Frenchie muttered, connecting the synthesized fuel to Optimus's intake port. Around him, military personnel watched with weapons ready, uncertain if they were saving a hero or awakening a threat. The substitute energon flowed into Optimus's systems. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then his optics flickered. Once, twice. They blazed to full brightness. Optimus Prime sat up, his systems running diagnostics. The fuel substitute was crude, inefficient. He'd need constant refills, regular maintenance. But it worked. He was alive. "Frenchie," he said, his voice carrying genuine gratitude. "You saved my life." Well, you saved ours first. We are even, yes?" Frenchie grinned. "Besides, I could not let such magnificent engineering go to waste." A military general stepped forward, older, decorated, cautious. "Mr. Prime, I'm General Harker. We need to talk about your status here. You're an alien entity with advanced military capabilities. That makes you a national security concern." "I understand," Optimus said calmly. "You fear what you do not understand. It is logical, but you also saved civilians during your fight with Homelander, deliberately minimized casualties, refused to kill even when it would have been easier." Harker paused. "That makes you either the most dangerous opponent we've ever faced, or the most valuable ally." "I am neither opponent nor weapon, General. I am simply someone trying to survive in a universe not his own." Optimus's optics dimmed slightly. I have no desire for conquest or conflict. I wish only to find a way home to my people. And if you can't? Optimus was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he'd learned about this world. The corruption, the false heroes, the people desperate for something real to believe in. He thought of Cybertron, of the Autobots still fighting without their leader. But he also thought of the boys, of Maeve and Starlight, of the humans who'd risked everything to save him. Then, perhaps, he said slowly, I can be of use here. This world needs heroes, General, real ones, not corporate products or manufactured gods, but beings who understand that true heroism requires sacrifice, compassion, and the courage to choose mercy over vengeance. Pretty speech, but Homelander is still out there. Vought still controls most of the soups. And now you've made yourself their primary target. Harker pulled out a tablet showing news footage. They're calling you a threat. Alien invader. Uncontrollable weapon. Vaught's already lobbying Congress to have you destroyed. Let them try, a familiar voice said. Butcher strode into the facility with his crew, somehow bypassing multiple security checkpoints. The boys had cleaned up since the fight. New clothes, bandages, but the same defiant attitude. How did you... Harker started. Not important, Butcher interrupted. What's important is that robot right there is the only thing standing between Homelander and complete impunity. You want to hand him over to Vought. You want to dismantle him. Fine. But then you're left with a superhero who's just been humiliated on global television and is looking for someone to take it out on. Mr. Butcher has a point, another voice added. Senator Victoria Newman entered, her political smile firmly in place. Optimus didn't trust her. Something in his threat assessment protocols warned him she was more dangerous than she appeared. But she commanded authority. Public opinion is shifting. People are questioning Vought, questioning the Soupies, questioning everything. If we play this right, we can use Prime here as leverage. I am not a bargaining chip, Optimus said firmly. No, you're better. You're proof that power doesn't have to corrupt, that heroes can actually be heroic. Newman studied him carefully. Work with us, Prime. Help us reform the system, regulate the soups, hold Vought accountable. In exchange, we give you legal status, resources, and protection. And if I refuse, then you're an illegal alien, literally, with no rights, no protection, and every government agency hunting you. She shrugged. Your choice. Optimus processed the offer. It was manipulation dressed as diplomacy. But it was also opportunity. He'd seen Vought's corruption firsthand, watched Homelander brutalize those weaker than himself, witnessed the system that created and enabled such monsters. Perhaps he couldn't go home, but perhaps he could do some good here. I have conditions, Optimus said. The boys work with me, not for you. They are honest in their hatred. I trust that more than political promises. Maeve and Starlight receive protection and amnesty for their defection from the Seven. And I retain autonomy in how I operate. I am not your weapon. I am not your tool. I am an ally, not a subordinate. Harker and Newman exchanged looks. Finally, Harker nodded. Agreed. But understand, Prime, you just put yourself at the center of a war. Vought won't rest until you're destroyed. Homelander will come for you again. And there are forces in this world you haven't even encountered yet. I have fought wars that lasted millions of years, General. I think I can handle one corrupt corporation. Optimus stood to his full height. Systems running smoothly on Frenchie's fuel substitute. Besides, I am not alone. I have allies now, friends. He looked at the boys, Butcher with his cynical grin. Huey with his nervous optimism, Mother's Milk with his steady reliability, Frenchie with his manic genius, Kimiko with her fierce loyalty. He thought of Maeve and Starlight, who'd sacrificed their positions to do what was right, and he thought of Bumblebee, Ratchet, Jazz, his real family, somewhere across dimensions, perhaps wondering if he still lived. "I will find my way back to you," he promised silently. "But first, I have work to do here." "So what now?" Butcher asked. "You're Earth's newest hero, you've got government backing, and you've pissed off every soupy and corporation on the planet. What's the plan, Prime?" Optimus Prime's optics blazed with renewed purpose. "Now, we show this world what true heroism looks like. We expose Volt's corruption, we hold the soups accountable, and we prove that power is meaningless without the wisdom and compassion to wield it responsibly." "And Homelander?" Huey asked nervously. "Will face justice, not death, not destruction, but accountability. We will strip away his manufactured divinity and reveal the broken being beneath. And perhaps, if there is any spark of redemption within him, we will offer him a choice: continue as a monster or become something more." "That's a hell of a gamble," Mother's Milk said. "Freedom is always worth fighting for," Optimus replied, "till all are one." Outside the facility in Vote Tower, Homelander stared at footage of Optimus Prime being interviewed by news networks. The alien spoke of justice, compassion, responsibility, everything Homelander had pretended to be but never was. And for the first time in his life, Homelander understood what it meant to be afraid. Not of death, not of pain, but of being replaced, of being forgotten, of being revealed as the fraud he'd always been. "We need to destroy it," he told Madeline Stillwell, his voice quiet and cold. "Not just damage it, not just contain it, completely obliterate it." "We're working on it," Stillwell assured him. "We've got scientists analyzing the fight footage, looking for weaknesses. We've got political operatives undermining his credibility. We've got—" "Not enough," Homelander interrupted. "That thing represents everything I'm supposed to be and am not. As long as it exists, it exposes me, exposes all of us." He turned to face her, and his smile was back, but it was the smile of something broken pretending to be whole. "So we're going to war, Madeline. Real war, not the corporate PR kind, the kind where one side doesn't walk away." In the distance, sirens wailed as another soup-related incident erupted. In his government facility, Optimus Prime heard them too and prepared to respond. The war between real heroes and false gods had only just begun. But Optimus Prime was an Autobot. He'd fought wars before. He'd survived Megatron, the fall of Cybertron, the long journey through the stars. He would survive this too. And in the process, perhaps he'd help this broken world remember what heroism truly meant. Not power, not glory, not worship, but service, sacrifice, and the courage to do what's right, no matter the cost. 6 months later, the world had learned to live with the impossible. Optimus Prime had become a fixture in American consciousness, not as a celebrity like the Seven, but as something more fundamental. A symbol. When disaster struck, he responded without cameras or fanfare. When soups abused their power, he intervened without killing. When Volt tried to discredit him, he simply continued doing what heroes do, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The boys operated as his intelligence network, tracking Volt's operations and exposing corruption. Maeve and Starlight had become vocal advocates for soup-y regulation, their defection lending credibility to reform efforts. And slowly, painfully, the system began to change, but Homelander remained, diminished, obsessed, increasingly unstable, but still powerful, still dangerous. The final confrontation between them loomed on the horizon like a gathering storm. In his workshop, a converted warehouse provided by his government alliance, Optimus worked on repairs while monitoring news feeds. Frenchie's energon substitute kept him functional, but he remained weaker than his full capacity. His weapons were still offline. His connection to Cybertron remained severed. He was alone in an alien universe, fighting a war that wasn't his, for a world that sometimes feared him as much as it needed him. But he wasn't truly alone. The boys visited regularly. Maeve trained with him, learning combat techniques that didn't rely on brute strength. Starlight asked questions about the Force and Cybertronian philosophy, seeking wisdom about power and responsibility. And sometimes, late at night when the city slept, Optimus would look up at the stars and wonder if his Autobots were still fighting, if Megatron still lived, if Cybertron could ever be saved. I will find my way back, he promised himself again. But not yet. This world still needs me, because that was what Autobots did. They protected life, defended freedom, and stood against tyranny, no matter what universe they found themselves in. Optimus Prime had crashed into the boys' universe as a refugee, but he would remain as something more. Proof that true heroes existed, that power could be wielded with wisdom, and that even in the darkest corners of reality, hope endured. The war with Volt and Homelander would continue. New threats would emerge, greater challenges awaited. But Optimus Prime had faced the end of his world before, and survived. He would face whatever came next with the same courage, the same compassion, the same unwavering commitment to protecting all sentient life, because he was an Autobot. And Autobots never gave up. May the Force be with you. More stories await.